A veteran negotiator is supposed to save lives. But this one created the crisis. It's 2:13 a.m. A small town diner. Inside 3 hostages, one terrified woman named Mary Trent, and the man everyone thought was her savior, holding the gun. He says, "Nobody leaves. Not this time." But what happened next shocked everyone. Mary Trent was 29, a nurse in the quiet town of Brookhaven, Illinois. Known for her compassion, she worked nights, often bringing food to the ER staff. The suspect? Eli Voss, 42. The county's lead hostage negotiator. Respected. Trained to de-escalate chaos. Until he became it. The town still talks about that night, how Eli flipped from hero to threat in minutes. We post daily. Subscribe so you never miss a case like this. Eli Voss had built his life around control. Every negotiation, every tense standoff, he was the calm voice that pulled people back from the edge. To the public, he was a hero. To his colleagues, a legend. But those who knew him best saw something unraveling beneath the surface. After his wife left, Eli's once pristine apartment became a shrine to his past victories. Framed commendations, newspaper clippings, photos with smiling hostages he'd saved. He'd sit for hours replaying recordings of his old negotiations, analyzing his tone, his pauses, his power. Somewhere in that repetition, admiration turned into addiction. Mary Trent entered his world by chance. She was a nurse at St. Bridget's Hospital, vibrant and warm, someone who saw people, not titles. When Eli gave a lecture on trauma response, she asked thoughtful questions, the kind that made him feel understood. To her, it was professional curiosity. To him, it was connection. He began dropping by the hospital under the guise of following up on psychological recovery cases. But he wasn't there for the patients. He was there for her. He memorized her schedule, learned her routines, even the brand of coffee she drank. Mary noticed the attention but dismissed it. He was a public figure, after all, awkward maybe, but harmless. Still, there were moments that unsettled her. The way he lingered after conversations. The way his gaze seemed to study her, not in admiration but assessment. One evening she found a note on her car windshield. "You have the kind of calm people crave in chaos." No signature. But she didn't need one. Her friends brushed it off. "He's just awkward," they said. "He means well." But inside, something in Mary shifted. She began checking over her shoulder when leaving work. Locking her doors twice. Eli, meanwhile, grew bolder. He'd call her late at night, claiming it was for consultation on trauma cases. His voice always steady, rehearsed. Then one Friday he didn't show up to work. His badge and gun were gone. That night, Mary's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You always said you wanted to understand what fear feels like." The words chilled her. Because only one man had ever said that to her before. It was 2:13 a.m. when the first call came in. A quiet diner on the edge of Brookhaven. The kind of place where truckers and nurses grab coffee before dawn. The caller's voice was calm, professional, too calm. "This is Eli Voss. I have hostages. I want to talk." Dispatch froze. Eli was one of them, the man who handled these exact situations. Now he was the one creating one. Patrol cars surrounded Lou's diner within minutes. The blinds were drawn, but shadows moved behind the glass. Through the faint hum of the fluorescent lights, they could hear a woman crying. It was Mary Trent. Inside, the air was thick with tension and grease and fear. Eli sat near the counter, gun resting beside a half-drunk cup of coffee. Across from him, 3 terrified hostages, 2 cooks and Mary. Her hands shook as she tried to reason with him. "Eli," she whispered, "you don't have to do this." He smiled, tilting his head like a teacher correcting a student. "Mary, you don't understand. This isn't chaos. It's clarity." Police negotiators tried to reach him by phone. He answered once, his tone eerily calm. "You taught me to talk, remember? You said empathy saves lives. Let's see if that's true." Then he hung up. Hours stretched. Witnesses said he alternated between monologues about control and quiet, chilling stillness. Every word sounded rehearsed, like a performance he'd practiced. At 3:04 a.m., a gunshot cracked through the night. One single shot. Officers stormed in, expecting crossfire. Instead, they found Eli kneeling on the floor, gun still in his hand, eyes locked on Mary's lifeless body. Blood pooled beneath the counter, her necklace glinting under the flickering diner light. "Mary," he whispered, "you were supposed to listen." Police ordered him to drop the weapon. He didn't resist. Just stared ahead, mumbling fragments of negotiation scripts he once taught others. "Stay calm. Keep rapport. Don't let emotion lead." As officers led him away, one detective swore Eli smiled. Not out of madness but satisfaction. Like he'd finally reached the ending he'd been writing all along. And as dawn broke over Brookhaven, the man who once ended hostage crises had become the crisis himself. The aftermath of the diner standoff shattered Brookhaven's illusion of safety. For years, Eli Voss had been the face of composure under pressure, the calm in chaos. Now, detectives were faced with a chilling question. How long had the chaos been his own design? Detective Laura Greer led the case, a woman who had once trained under Eli himself. She couldn't shake the image of him in handcuffs, expression blank, eyes detached as if he were still observing a negotiation, not living one. The diner was sealed off for 48 hours. Evidence units combed through the scene, bagging everything from the single bullet casing to Mary's shattered phone. On it, investigators found dozens of messages, some deleted, some drafted but never sent. Most were from Eli. Fragments of obsession. You understand control. You make people listen. You're different. The timeline became clear. Weeks of fixation, escalating contact, and a final staged confrontation. But it was what detectives uncovered next that changed everything. In Eli's home office, hidden behind his framed certificates, they found a small locked drawer. Inside, cassette tapes. Old, labeled recordings from previous negotiations. But not just official cases. Some were unfamiliar. Tape 1, a warehouse standoff from 5 years ago. Tape 2, a domestic hostage call from 2016. Both had ended successfully. Eli had talked the suspect down. But now, reviewing the transcripts, detectives noticed something disturbing. In both cases, the anonymous tip that alerted police came from a burner phone later traced back to Eli himself. He'd been creating his own emergencies, feeding his own legend. Each time he inserted himself as the rescuer, the hero. The media loved him. The department promoted him. And no one questioned how perfectly each crisis aligned with his shifts. But then came Mary Trent. She wasn't supposed to be part of a script. She was real, unpredictable, human. She didn't admire his calm, she feared it. And that rejection shattered the fragile story Eli had built around himself. Detectives pieced together his descent. A month before the diner, Eli had withdrawn $5,000 in cash, purchased a burner phone, and rented an isolated cabin outside town. Inside the cabin, they found a corkboard filled with photos, newspaper clippings, and police transcripts. Mary's face circled in red marker. Across the top, written in block letters, the final lesson. When questioned, Eli gave rehearsed, almost scripted answers. Every negotiator must know the line between control and chaos, he said. I just crossed mine. He claimed he didn't remember pulling the trigger. That Mary's fear had triggered something primal. Psychiatrists suggested dissociative identity fracture, a split between Eli the rescuer and Eli the orchestrator. But Detective Greer wasn't convinced. She believed he was fully aware, relishing the narrative he'd built. The perfect irony, the savior becomes the threat. In the weeks that followed, more recordings surfaced, mock negotiation drills Eli had recorded alone, practicing both sides of the conversation. On one, he whispered Mary's name. Again and again. It became clear, the hostage negotiator hadn't lost control. He'd been planning it from the very beginning. The trial of Eli Voss began under gray winter skies, the kind that made Brookhaven feel smaller, quieter, almost suffocated by its own shame. Every news outlet in the state sent cameras. The headline read, "Hero turned hunter." Inside the courtroom, there were no raised voices, just the cold rhythm of facts that peeled away the myth. Eli sat motionless through most of it, clean-shaven, expressionless, wearing the same faint smile he wore in every press photo. The prosecution opened with the diner security footage. The moment he pulled the trigger, the gasp that escaped the gallery was followed by silence, Mary's sister collapsing into her mother's arms. Prosecutors argued Eli's crime was deliberate, methodical, born from obsession and narcissistic control. They presented evidence of his staged crises, his fabricated emergencies, his manipulation of police records. He wasn't saving lives, the attorney said, pointing toward him. He was collecting them. The defense countered with a claim of dissociative psychosis, a mental break from years of exposure to violence and trauma. They called expert witnesses who described his fragmented identity and compulsive need to recreate fear. But each word only deepened the unease in the room. Because Eli didn't look broken. He looked satisfied. Then came the tapes. The ones from his cabin. When played aloud, the courtroom filled with his voice, calm, deliberate, rehearsing his own lines as both negotiator and suspect. "Stay calm, Eli," he whispered on one tape. "They'll listen to you just like she did." When Mary's final text was read, "He scares me, but no one believes me," even the defense attorney turned away. After 4 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. The verdict: guilty on all counts: murder, kidnapping, and abuse of authority. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. But the story didn't end in that courtroom. Months later, Detective Laura Greer received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a flash drive labeled "Case Continuation." On it, a single audio file, Eli's voice again. "Come. Confident. Control never dies," he said. "It changes hands." Authorities traced the origin to a public library 2 towns away. Security footage showed an unidentified figure wearing a police academy hoodie, mailing the package. The voice modulation on the file suggested a digital edit, but one detail sent chills through the team. In the background, faintly, was the sound of another person breathing. Another voice, female, barely audible. "Do you want me to start now?" The discovery forced investigators to reopen several closed hostage cases across the Midwest. Each with similar phrasing, similar negotiation tactics. Each handled or influenced by someone who'd once trained under Eli Voss. It raised a haunting question. Had he been grooming others long before the diner incident? When reporters asked Eli about the recording during a prison interview, he simply smiled and said, "You think this was my last negotiation?" No one's sure how deep his lessons went, or how many learned from him. The truth, it seems, may still be out there. Eli Voss is the textbook embodiment of what forensic psychologists call the hero-villain paradox. Individuals like him crave adoration through chaos. They don't just want control, they want to be the only one capable of restoring it. In Eli's case, his training as a hostage negotiator gave him the perfect theater for that need. Every crisis became a stage. Every desperate plea for help became applause. But when the admiration faded, his identity crumbled. Years of saving others had become his sole proof of worth. Without a crisis, he was invisible. That void, the loss of purpose, of being needed, triggered a dangerous spiral known as savior syndrome collapse. Instead of finding meaning elsewhere, Eli began manufacturing situations where he could play the hero again. His fixation on Mary Trent exposed the deeper pathology beneath the surface. She represented calm, compassion, and control without manipulation, the very traits he pretended to embody. Her independence was both his obsession and his undoing. When she didn't reciprocate his distorted version of affection, it wasn't rejection to him, it was rebellion. And rebellion had to be contained. Clinically, his behavior blended narcissistic personality disorder with psychopathic traits, superficial charm, emotional detachment, and calculated violence. But unlike many psychopaths, Eli didn't seek random chaos, he needed structured chaos, designed by his own hand. Experts noted his voice during interrogations measured, hypnotic, and eerily self-soothing. It was the same tone used in negotiations but inverted. Instead of saving victims, he was saving himself from obscurity. In the end, Eli's greatest addiction wasn't power or violence, it was relevance. He built his identity on controlling others' fear, and when the world stopped fearing him, he simply created new fear to feed on. Eli Voss didn't lose his mind. He simply weaponized it. Mary Trent's story is more than a tragedy, it's a warning. It shows how authority, when worshipped without question, can become the perfect disguise for evil. Eli Voss wasn't a monster born overnight. He was built slowly, piece by piece, through admiration, trust, and silence. In the end, he didn't just take lives, he rewrote the meaning of heroism in Brookhaven. The negotiator who once ended violence became its architect. And the people who believed in him now struggle to believe in anything at all. Mary's courage wasn't in how she died, but in how she sensed the danger no one else would see. Her story reminds us that intuition, the quiet alarm inside us, is often the only warning we get. If this case left you unsettled, you're not alone. Subscribe and stay with us. What secret was he trying to expose before he vanished? We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay alert, and remember, sometimes the people trained to protect us are the ones we should fear most.